If you spend any time around cattle, you will eventually see a cow or a bull do this. We look at that pulled back lip and those bared teeth, and our human brains immediately jump to a single conclusion: that animal just smelled something terrible. But judging animal behavior through the lens of human facial expressions leads us entirely off track. Cattle do not experience human emotions when they make this face. There is zero emotion behind this grimace. It is a highly documented biological behavior known as the Flehmen response. Rather than a reaction of disgust, that awkward posture functions as a deliberate mechanical maneuver. The cow tilts its head and stretches its neck to open a pathway to a specialized biological tool. To figure out what the animal is actually doing, we have to ignore the funny face completely and look at the hardware hidden inside its skull. When cattle investigate a scent, their regular olfactory system handles the standard airborne odors. Mammals, however, possess a secondary set of hardware for specialized sensing. This cross-section reveals where the vomeronasal organ sits above the nasal cavity floor. Because it's belly deep, lifting the head and curving the upper lip opens a direct channel. This channel acts as a vacuum, pulling in biological information typically found in fluids like urine. The animal does not use this posture to smell the air harder. It actively routes specific chemical data away from its primary nose and straight into an entirely separate sensory processor. The Flehmen response operates as an intentional, targeted sampling maneuver designed to gather dense information from the immediate environment. Because this is an information gathering tool, watching a single lip curl gives us an incomplete picture. Animal behavior requires observing the full sequence: what happens before the behavior and what happens after. In a breeding herd, the before stage typically involves a bull closely investigating a female and finding a fluid sample, like a fresh patch of urine. The Flehmen response itself is the behavior stage. The bull triggers the lip curl to specifically load that fluid's chemical sample into the vomeronasal organ. Finally, we observe the after. Once the brain processes that chemical data, the bull makes a decision, such as continuing to follow that specific cow. Because this sequence happens so frequently in breeding herds, a persistent myth developed in agriculture. People see a bull curl its lip and assume the cow is definitively in standing heat. This behavior functions as an investigation rather than a definitive diagnosis. The bull is checking her reproductive status, but the lip curl alone does not guarantee she is ovulating or ready to breed. It is equally false that only bulls do this. Cows and heifers do it, and non-calves frequently use the exact same posture to investigate unfamiliar chemical data in their surroundings. While people often call these scents pheromones, biologists prefer the term chemical cues. Cattle sample a massive variety of social and environmental signals, many of which fall outside the strict biological definition of a true pheromone. Every Flehmen response represents one small data point in a continuous, complex evaluation of the herd, rather than a simple on and off switch. Modern agriculture relies heavily on technology like AI cameras and wearable activity monitors to track the status of a herd. But as this flowchart shows, the cow already operates as an advanced biological sensor network. The animal detects a chemical input, routes it to the vomeronasal sensor, fires a neural signal to the brain processor, and outputs a specific physical behavior. Biologists describe this using a concept called the Umwelt. It refers to the highly specific sensory reality that a particular organism experiences based on its unique biological hardware. A human and a cow can stand shoulder to shoulder in the exact same physical paddock, yet may experience two entirely different realities. We look out and we prioritize the visual shape of the grass and the sound of the blowing wind. The cow perceives a dense, invisible chemical landscape, reading temporary biological messages left behind on the soil and the plants. The next time you spot an animal making a bizarre face, resist the urge to assign a human emotion to it. Ask yourself what non-volatile chemical cues that animal is currently sampling from the ground or the fluid it just discovered. That strange curl of the lip is the only external sign of a constant stream of chemical data that passes right by our own senses.